JMR garu, Dr. Shankar Rao garu, Vice Chancellor Samata garu, Shri Prasad Reddy garu, other distinguished people sitting on the dais, and members of the Andhra Alumni Association, faculty, students, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to visit the Andhra University at the invitation of JMR Garu and share this evening with all of you. It is indeed a great, great honor for me. Also, though I have been in this town for a brief while, probably for an hour before, today is the first day I spent most part of the day, and it's such a beautiful city. I am particularly very impressed that Andhra University has this alumni association. I understand that it has been functional or set up only in the last 7 years under the leadership of JMR Garu. It is an absolutely a fantastic thing that you're doing, because while we have great schools in India, great colleges in India, great faculty and excellent students, and great businesses, we work in isolation. What makes the Western institutions, especially the US institutions, most successful is primarily the network that they're able to create. The network between the alumni and the university college, and the network between the university, the faculty, and industry, and the research collaboration between the departments and professors and research scholars and companies. This network is very important. Without that network, neither the universities can achieve their full potential, nor the companies can achieve their full potential. This is something that happens extremely well in the US technology ecosystem, science ecosystem, startup ecosystem, in West Coast, East Coast, pure research, applied research. And in order to achieve this, a very strong bonding with the alumni is important, because alumni have a lot of affinity for the institution, and then they work in some of the finest companies, and they lead big institutions, and they have a strong financial success. So tapping into this network is so critical, and I am very, very glad that you have put this together, and I want to congratulate you for this. I hope that this thing can happen in many universities in India. I was thinking what to speak to this audience because this is a university with tremendous history, and it's phenomenal to think that you are in a place where people like Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, Sir C.V. Raman, and people of that stature walked around. So it's a great thing to visit this university. So there are many things to talk about. Probably I will give a glimpse of where we are in terms of the global environment, and also talk a little bit about the challenges, not only the opportunities. Clearly, over the last 4 years, we have gone through a lot. We all seem to have forgotten the 2.5 years under the pandemic, or 2 years under the pandemic. I don't think that we had a lot of hope when the second wave hit that we'll get back to normalcy. After the first wave, there was some hope, but after the second wave, there was a lot of fear that whether we will get back to normalcy at all. But then, we are here and living our lives as usual before the pandemic. But the pandemic has also changed a lot. It has also created a sense of ownership for every individual on their health. And you see that reflecting in the way people live their lives. From an economic perspective, the world has, for the first time, changed to a new paradigm. For the first time, the developing economies will contribute more to the growth, global growth, than the developed or the Western economies. Western economies, especially the US, UK, all of Europe, Japan, all of them are witnessing higher levels of inflation which they are never used to. So the world has kind of settled for a low growth, low inflation economy by and large. And developing economies are getting into higher growth and moderate inflation. And India especially is in a unique place. And JMR gave a lot of statistics, so I don't want to repeat those statistics. But it is fair to say that India will be on a high growth trajectory for many decades. Definitely for the opportunity for all the people studying now, almost for all your working careers, you're going to have a very strong economy with lots of opportunities. But geopolitics is something that is unpredictable. After the pandemic, when we were all settled in normalcy, suddenly the Russia-Ukraine war. And then earlier this year, we were only worried about that. We were trying to assess the impact of that war, and then you had the other one. So geopolitics is uncertain thing to predict. So we should all be prepared to live and navigate in a sort of volatile geopolitics. The third pillar is the energy transition. We all talk about the word sustainability and energy transition. But it's a pretty big deal because there is not one transition in the history of the world which is going to be as mammoth as the energy transition. Because of the capital requirements for the whole world to make this transition is humongous. But we have to do it in such a way that it generates economic growth, it generates technological advancement, it generates productivity and better jobs. The other technological transition is GMR briefly referred to as digital. And today I think, previously we used to say IT, from there we went to digital, now we have moved on to AI. So digital has become a old word. And if we meet here a year or 2 years from now, we'll use some other language. AI itself is evolving. I did my artificial intelligence course 37 years ago in my master's program. But then it never took off because it needed all the other technologies like mobile technology, cloud, wireless connectivity, so many other things had to happen before the volume of data could be processed. So AI itself is moving from predictive AI to generative AI. The next one that we will wait to see is behavioral AI. By that what I mean is it can behave like you and me. When that comes, the progress will be even more great if you look at it one way, scary if you look at it the other way. Then we are talking about advanced manufacturing. And then we have to talk about biomedical sciences. You will have so much advancement that will happen in biology. The day is not far when people will not only live long, but will live healthy. We will see anti-aging. People will live but almost stay at the same age for a few years. There is so much of research happening and so much of advancement happening. And there is so much of technology that will come in new materials. Materials which are light, much more strong, because there is a lot of scarcity of certain materials, and that will force innovation, that will force research. And material science is another area which has huge potential. Foods will be a very, very big innovation that will happen. Because today, we hardly eat a balanced diet, and the day is not far, then you can have a small, you want a square or you want a pill or whatever it is, which has the right composition of calories, carbohydrates, proteins, and what have you, which is very personalized based on your health information. If you're a diabetic, one way. If you're not diabetic, it's another way. And I don't have to say about sequencing, gene editing. I think what we are going to witness over this decade and next decade is an enormous amount of technological, scientific advancement. So I don't think that we have ever lived in such an action-packed period. So if you look at all of that, I think India is most beautifully placed. I will say a few words on that. First, on digital, India probably, most of you may or may not realize, is the only country which has done the digital public infrastructure in a scale to touch 1.4 billion people. Whether it is as simple a thing like Aadhaar, or our payments, or our ability to vaccinate people using a digital tracking, or the health stack that's being built. I think we are having a unique advantage because of the digital infrastructure that has been put in place, and it will continue to evolve. The second reason I say that is, clearly, India is the talent capital for digital and new technology because we have a lot of young people. But it is the responsibility of us to channelize that talent, to harness that potential. If we don't, we'll create a problem. If we do, we will attain leadership. So we have a huge responsibility. Second, on energy transition, we are very uniquely placed because the India's energy needs between now and 2047 or 2050 will quadruple. So the transition that we are doing is by creating new energy sources which will all go towards growth. Most other economies have to transition this by substituting because the growth is not there. They have to substitute, which is always very hard business case. So it's a tremendous opportunity. The supply chain advanced manufacturing, it's a great opportunity in the near term and medium term because of the geopolitical tailwind from India's point of view. Everyone wants to partner with India. And we have the talent. So we just need the capital, we need the determination to execute. If you take India, we are good at execution at times. For every good execution, we also have an example of a bad execution. So we need to get better so that we can execute. So we are very, very uniquely placed. And in order to harness all these opportunities, the universities have to play a very important role. We need more pure research. We need more IP. We need path-breaking scientific inventions and innovations. We need to be having more Nobel laureates in this country. We need significant investment in research because all of these are opportunities and our problems are unique. And by investing and creating such capabilities, we will not only contribute to India, but we will contribute to the world. And Andhra University, with the heritage it has, I think can take a lot of inspiration from its own history and can be a leading player in setting the agenda. Not that other universities are not doing, every school is trying in India. And I am very, very hopeful and confident that we will have inventions and innovations, new products, new intellectual property will come out of our country in the coming decades in a significant way. Those are the remarks I want to make. I want to thank JMR Garu and the Andhra University Alumni Association for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share a few moments with you. Thank you, and I wish you all maybe I want to say two more points on challenges. See, one thing that we have to achieve is also inclusion. In India, still we have 200 to 300 million people who don't enjoy the same access all of us enjoy in this room. And we need to be an India when we come out on the other side over the next 2 decades, where we become the 3rd largest economy, probably the 2nd largest economy. India at some stage will overtake the United States, just only to be behind China in terms of the GDP. We want to solve all these problems. We want to have a per capita income in a range. We don't want to have one state at $8,000 and another state at $800. We don't want to have some people have all the access and many talented, but because of their circumstances and where they live, they don't have access. We want to have basic health care to everybody, basic education to everybody. We want to have more women in employment. Only 23% of our women work. So there are things that we need to solve. So we have to grow and achieve all of these things that we achieve in such a way that we get prosperity, but we also solve this inequality. And it can happen. And those are the additional comments I wanted to make. And once again, thank you all very much for this opportunity. Welcome.